Hello, my name is Marko Makaj. I am FIDE master from Croatia and I record this video for great chess teaching site Remote Chess Academy. Here in this video I will try to show you the 8th game of World Championship match between Magnus Carlsen and Sergey Karjakin that has been played yesterday. In this game, Magnus Carlsen was white and Sergey Karjakin was black. Like in the first game of his match, first move with white, Magnus played d4, after which Karjakin played knight to f6, and he's not afraid of some Trompovsky lines that played Magnus in the first game, and I was quite sure that Magnus will never repeat this opening again in this match, so he chose here more solid way to play knight to f3. After this move, Sergey played d5 and he showed that he doesn't want to play some aggressive lines. He just tried to show some very drawish positions where he managed to escape and make the draw like in a few other openings, few other games. And then Magnus played the move e3. This is not something that I like during this game, but I am pretty sure that Magnus has some idea and he has his own reasons why he do this, why he played this, but I don't think that in one match with so big prizes this can be good because of the few reasons. First, I think with white, if you play here e3, you don't want to create anything from the opening and you allow black to manage to play very equal game and very drawish game, because if you see now this e3 pawn doesn't allow bishop from c1 to go into play, and you don't push really on the opponent. Much better, I think, it's to play something like c4 and then okay, you need to play some very obvious lines in order to create something from the positions. Here with e3, Magnus didn't manage to make anything better than the equal position from the opening, and Karjakin is, like in any other game in his match, very solid. So here also he tried to make very symmetrical position. Those pawns you can see that are on e3, d4, e6 and d5, and it's very equal and I will say drawish position. And it's hard for white to manage to do something. White here went for bishop d3, and this is so-called call system. White wants to push those bishops on these vital diagonals a1, h8 and b1 to h7 and then try to create something later on. Black has also much of the time and much for the squares of for all of his pieces, and it's really not easy for white to prove any advantage at all. And sure, c5, very nice looking move, and the move where now even black tried to push on d4 square. Magnus went for b3. It's obvious that c3 is a very bad move because now you play with white as you play with black. So this is not something that you want to achieve. The position after 5 move is, I will say, even better for black. So this is not something that is even good for white. So b3 is the only way to try to do something and put this bishop on b2 and d3 and try to do something in some middle game, or try to even squeeze in maybe better endgame. But from the opening, white cannot do any significant advantage at all. And after this, of course, with black is also very easy to play. Bishop e7 is natural, good looking move, when black also have his own idea of just developed the piece, and then okay, let's see white what you can do, where you have the advantage or how you think you can outplay me. And this is very nice and very good position for black. And then also castle and castle are very natural moves, and bishop to b2. Now you see that white has very good bishops on d3 and b2, but black doesn't have any weaknesses, and all of his pieces can also be developed very well. He has also some vital diagonals and squares for his pieces, and he showed this by playing here b6. So white managed to develop this bishop on b2 and d3, and black will do just like the same. So he will push the bishops on b7, he has the other one on the e7, and it's very hard for white to prove anything from this opening. So I will say that here it's completely equal position, and white will have hard time to prove that he has some of the advantage. And now Magnus play d takes on c5, and I believe this is the only move that black need to play on for the time that he can do some mistake, and he can also try to choose between two very playable lines. He can play bishop c5 or b takes c5. I think both of the moves are fine, but Karjakin in this game particularly tried to do very safe option. He take with the pawn, he take with the bishop, sorry, because if he take with pawn, then probably after some moves white maybe can achieve some better position because of the little bit of something in the center, and then those two bishops can play maybe some big roles later on after taking c takes on d5. Because it's very possible that black will stay with those two ugly pawns on c5 and d5 that can be very easily attacked later on, and if the position somehow open, then those two bishops can maybe play a significant role later on. But it's also very hard to achieve this with white, and I think probably here black is also very equal here. But bishop c5 is more or less natural and even safer option, so I think this is the better answer for black. And then white needs to develop his pieces, black needs to develop his pieces, so next few moves are very natural and maybe the only moves in this position. So queen goes to e2, white wants to develop the queen, put together those rooks on c1 and d1, and also this is something that black wants to achieve. Queen will maybe go to e7, knight will go to d7, and then both of the rooks can come to d8 and c8, and then little by little black will completely equal this position, exchange some pieces, and I don't see how white here can manage something from this position. Knight bd7, it's more natural and I think better move than to push this knight to c6, because on c6 this knight will block the bishop on b7 and somehow maybe slightly misplace this knight, because this knight is much more flexible on d7. Maybe he can came to c5 and also he defend the other knight on f6. So it's a little bit better to put the knight on d7 than to c6. And now you can see that with knight b to d7, only the black queen stay on d8. If now black push the queen on e7, it will be just as equal position as could be, and I don't see how white managed to do something from this game. So here he need to push some pressure on his opponent, and mostly this is possible only by open this position with c4 or maybe e4. Because all of the white pieces, if you look at now, are on the best squares. White cannot push any bigger push on the opponent, and the only thing that he can try to do now is try to open something in the center. He's a little bit better developed, so only by open the position white can achieve something later on. And e4 and c4 was here the option. Magnus try and play in this game c4 is a little bit safer option than to playing e4, but I think maybe a little bit more complicated. And position after c4 gives white the option for playing on. I think after e4 most of those pieces will be exchanged, and I cannot see how white managed to win this game, because we can look at this position in order de, knight e, bishop e, and queen e. And okay, now white has a little bit of something. He has maybe long-term initiative during this vital diagonal a1 to h8, but I'm not sure how white big advantage has here. And after knight f6 and queen e2, queen e7, it's not easy for white to prove also any advantage in this position. Maybe it's a little bit better after knight e5, because on the queen side white has 3 pawns against 2 of blacks, and can create something little by little later on, but it's very hard to achieve this, and I think here also black managed to survive very easy. This is a little bit better position for white, but really nothing special. So c4 was played, and very obvious move is dc, because black wants to open this bishop. Knight take on c4 and take some squares d6 and e5 under his control. And now, okay, black go and develop his queen on e7, and now white play here a3. During the game I was not quite sure that this is the best move, because okay, white idea is to push b4, but with a3 move he somehow create maybe weak pawn later on, because you see that queen is on e7 and bishop is on c5, and black will in most of the cases, in most of the positions, maybe later take the advantage over this diagonal, because white will need to protect this pawn. Okay, he now protected with the bishop and the knight from c4 and the rook from a1, but really the best square for this rook is c1, so he need to control this square later on a3 with the bishop and knight, and somehow dislocate his pieces, because they need to protect this pawn. And okay, black Karjakin blitzed here a5, very strong move, and now you can see how create these streets are. So bishop can take maybe a little bit later this pawn on a3, so white didn't manage to do something with this a3. Maybe it's a little bit better for this pawn to be on a2, but okay, after a3 a5 was blitzed, and then Magnus played knight d4. Here in this position it's very hard for white to do anything, because all of the pieces are on somehow best squares on the table, and now it's hard for white to find the right approach, right way to play this. His idea is to bring the knight from f3 closer to the queen side, but I don't think this is particularly good idea, and in this opening this is the maximum that white can achieve, and I'm pretty sure that this is so equal position that there is no way for white to push for a win. Maybe even if he managed to do something on the queen side, because black pieces are so good placed and he has so nice position without any weaknesses, that is really not easy for white to prove anything. So this is very easy plan for white to play, but then his king can also be without some defense after this knight go on the queen side, and this can be done here. Next few moves are also very nice to put rook on d8, rook d1, rook c8 and rook c1. And now black has very good position, and he tried to push on the king side, and I think this is very good. So white wants to go on queen side, and then black will go to king side here. And knight c8 was played with idea of knight g6, knight g4 and queen g5. Very strong initiative, can very easily be done here with black pieces. And I'm not sure if Magnus played this game correctly from now on. He tried to play queen e1 here and push b4, and after knight g6, bishop go to f1 just to control the g2 square, and then knight g4. Very aggressive move. Maybe black sometimes wants to put the queen on h4, or maybe even this knight from g4 can came to e5. a5, and then he maybe exchange this knight from c4, and maybe even black can be better in this game. And now knight b5, and this is the move that is not good. And in my opinion, if Karjakin now during the game find this move, which is not so obvious, but it's very strong, queen to g5, I'm sure that he will manage to get very prospect game here, because this is very strong move, after which you can see that all of the white's king side can be very easy compromised. After some move like h3, black can try to do something like knight 4 to e5, and now you can see how great this treat is. Knight f3 will manage to take the queen. So here white doesn't have anything better but taking on e5, and after taking on e5 he need to take once again because of the same idea. And after queen e5 you can see those two bishops are much stronger than the knight and the bishop from white, and black has here very good position. Because of those two pawns, a3 and b3, I can say that white will struggling here for the draw. Black is better here, I think, obviously. But during the game, this is the match, and Karjakin don't want to do anything maybe a little bit aggressive than he should be, and he play very safe option bishop to c6. Okay, he wants some time to exchange this knight, and now white play a4, just control this b5 square, and bishop d5, very strong, I will say, positional approach, positional move, because now black wants in the long run to exchange three minor pieces, those two bishops, and then the knight for both of the knight and white light dark square bishop. After this, white will stay in the long run with bishop on f1 against the knight, maybe on g6, maybe on f6, it doesn't really matter, but in this position this knight will be much better, and black can have better endgame, and this is something that really Karjakin wants to do. And now Magnus didn't find anything better but playing bishop to d4, and this means that something went wrong for white, because if he needs to exchange those pieces, okay, he tried to create something on b6 square, but this is not easy to do, and black will easily here show white that he didn't have any advantage at all. And this is just like I say, bishop take on c4, rook takes on c4, bishop take on d4, and then after taking on d4 and rook take on c4, this is nothing else for white, and this is very equal and drawish position. And here Magnus went for bc4. He just wants to try to do something from this position, and from human perspective, I'm not sure that this is the right approach, because you will always stay with those two pawns on a4 and c4, and it's not good for white to play those kind of the end games. Rook c4 was I think much better, and after rook d4 this will be very equal position. But okay, b takes on c4, knight came back to f6, and now you can see the point. Those two pawns in the long run can be very easy target for black pieces. Now queen came to d2 and rook came to b8. Once again, very equal position, maybe with slight disadvantage because of white those pawns. And now Magnus played g3 to open the king, knight came to e5, knight f3 is the treat, so bishop g2, h6, black also wants to open his king, and now f4. Magnus just wants to push this knight away from e5, knight came to d7, and now knight came to a7. This means that now white wants to put the knight on c6 and take the exchange, because of the queen and the rook are hanging on b8 and on e7, and obviously black sees this option and playing queen a3. After which Magnus play knight to c6, and again Magnus tried to play this position on. If he wants to, I will say, make the draw in this game, he will of course play rook d7, and then after knight d7, queen d7, and queen e3, it's obvious that this game will end it as the draw, because white king is open, and no matter that white has two light pieces for the rook, it's hard to prove any advantage here, and it's very obvious that this will end it as the draw. So this was also a little bit safer option, but Magnus, like I say, choose to play on. In the game, after knight c6, black rook on b8 is hanging, so black need to go back with this rook on f8, after which Magnus tried to play h3 and allow his king h2 square later on for escape from the check, and knight c5. Very obvious move. Knight came to great square on c5, from which he can try to take maybe on a4 or controlling also the square on e4. So it's very good square for the knight, and king came to h2 and knight take on a4. And now you can see that black take this pawn that we say it's possible to be very bad in this late middle game, and of course this pawn means something for black, but it's not easy to prove anything here in this particular position, because white can easily exchange those rooks, after which black king also will be very exposed, and it's not easy for black to win this game. Even with this pawn up, black is somehow not even better, and I think it's also very drawish position, but much easier to play for black. This is what really happens in those kind of the end games. Black will always has a little bit easier position to play because of this a passed pawn that can be very quickly and very aggressive pawn, maybe even winning pawn. You will see later on. So rook d8 is the only move that white really can do. He needs to exchange those rooks and make something from this position, maybe slightly open black king in order to make perpetual check or something like this. Karjakin played g6. He needs to open his king side in order to be able playing on with king on something like king g7, and then maybe has also square on h7. And after queen d4, very natural move which white used to attack this knight and somehow pin the king, because king need to go on g7. It's very important to see that this queen from a3 defend this rook on f8. So after rook f8, queen f8, black managed to defend his king. So Magnus need here to do something, and because of the time trouble and maybe because he underestimated black position, he tried to play here c5. And after this move, it's really hard to prove something. And after c5, black is obviously better. Okay, there was some tricks in this position, and both of the players was at somehow time press, and it's not easy to play with a few minutes on the clock this important game. So I understand that both of them make some mistakes. If Magnus here wants to survive, he needs to play knight e5, and this needs to be played immediately, because now Magnus is able to play knight to d7 or maybe even knight to g4. Very strong knight and strong white position against this king on g7. And now black needs to take on d8, queen will take on d8, and after queen f8, queen c7, and something like knight c5, queen v6, the position will be completely equal, and I think draw will be agreed here in next few moves. But in this game, Magnus plays c5, and Karjakin find few best moves. Rook take d8, knight take d8, and then knight c5. And here black is close to winning, and in this position Magnus play queen to d6, maybe the only move that show with which white tried to show something in his position. And now even Sergey make here some blunder, but it's also 37 move and 3 more before the time control, and few minutes on the clock are not good enough to calculate all of those variations, and Sergey play here queen to d3. And after this move white somehow stay in this game. I will say after queen d3 it's once again very equal position because of the nice trick knight d6. You will see this later on. Most important thing here after queen d6 is that black doesn't allow knight to e6. If not allow knight to e6, then white will have not easy life later on. And if black did play here queen a4, I think he'll be better for this later endgame, and I'm pretty sure that it will be very hard for Magnus to draw this game. Because of the queen b6, knight c2 d7, black completely regroup his forces, and then queen b4 and marching with a pawn will make very big problems for white. But okay, Sergey also miscalculate something and he play queen to d3. And now Magnus find the only, of course, answers: knight e6, fa6. Of course, knight cannot take on e6 because queen now is hanging on d3. After fa6 and queen e7, king g8, queen f6 take the pawn, and a4. You see that now completely whole king side from black is exposed, and it's not very easy for black to find resources and playing 4 to win. It's more likely with perfect game for both of the sides that this will end it as the draw, as some perpetual check from white perspective. Magnus play e4 because he wants to take this pawn on g6, and after queen d7 black needs to defend his king. Queen takes on g6, queen g7, queen e8 and queen f8. Position it's very equal, because once again this king is very exposed and white also didn't have something to play on but to try to survive, to take a or b pawn and then completely take the advantage from the queen side, or even to control some squares on the king side with his queen. And then if black try to do something with a pawn, then he can try to do something on the king side of the black and try to make some perpetual check and the draw. In this game, Magnus, I think, now was very satisfied with his position and tried to play on. And queen c6, Magnus play here in order to take maybe the pawn on b6 and try to control some squares and not allowing black knight to play anywhere but on c5 because e6 pawn is hanging, and so on and so on. But I think he also now don't play objectively in this game, and it's not good for white to play for the win at any cost, because black a pawn it's very quick and can easily promote his as the queen on the a file. So okay, the position is closed, but it's close, but it's hard for white to achieve some setup that will not allow black to push this a pawn. And here Sergey play queen d8, somehow take over the control on b6 square, and then have the idea of pushing a pawn and try to promote this pawn as the queen. f5. Magnus wants to open once again this king on g8, and now black cannot take on f5 because then white will have all of these checks on g6, h6 and so on. So he needs to push this a pawn. It's the only thing that can be done. Just try to push the pawn and then promote maybe the queen later on. And after e6 and king g7, very important not to stay at the 8th rank with black, Magnus plays e7. And this is also once again very nice move where Magnus show that he's able to survive this game, because queen needs to take on e7, after which queen take on b6, and once again, okay, black is pawn down, but this knight is the monster on c5, and a3 pawn completely compensate 1 pawn for white. So I'm not sure that white really can do here something else than the draw. And now here Sergey play knight to d3. Very nice move where now black queen defend this pawn on a3 and knight can control very vital square on a5, on e5 or on e1 or maybe on f2. So his options are wide, and black has a lot of very nice looking moves later on. And now queen to a5. White just wants to show black that he's not able to push this pawn even further, and after queen to c5, okay, white will never exchange this queen. His king is perfectly placed on h2, and for now it looks like that the game will end it as a draw, because now it's clear that white cannot do anything and black cannot push a pawn, so it's something like status quo. No side has clear plan at all, and it's quite a position where black will play with the knight and white will maybe play with the queen, and it will be very same in next few moves. This position will never change if someone don't really play some crazy moves and try to win this game. And knight to e5, it's obvious moves, and now queen came to e6. And this is the time, this is the move that allow black to win this game. If white play here queen to b7, then the game will end it as the draw for sure, because black cannot escape with the king, and if he play knight to f7, white can once again came on a6, and then if knight came back to a5, also queen b7, queen a6, and the game will be the draw. I'm not sure what Magnus wants here, but I'm sure that he missed next move from black, which allow black even to win the game. Black play here h5. It's great move, and now you can see that nothing can be done against something like h4, because if black open white king and manage to play something like queen f4 or queen f2 f4 or something like this, and somehow try to destroy those king side pawns from white, then this knight and queen with help of this a pawn can make very big advantage over the white king. And here white play h4, after which Karjakin find obvious moves and managed to win this game. He managed to win this game with a2. And after a2, Magnus of course resigned this game, because he see what will happen, and with this a2 Sergey win this game and has the 1 point ahead of Magnus. And in this match this is very big advantage, because 7 draws was in first 7 games, and then 4 games to go Karjakin wins the game and play next game with white. This is really big advantage in those kind of the match, and I'm sure that now Magnus will need to play for the win, and we'll see some better and more aggressive and maybe even slightly active positions from now on. Here also in this position I tell you that you can I give you the time for you to think, and I'm sure that if you don't look at this game you can find the right way for black to win this game after something like queen e2. Black can win this game with knight g4, king h3 and queen g1, and now white don't have more than one check on b2, after which king g6 will make the win for black, because queen h2 is made, knight f2 will take the queen, so with this black will take white queen or give white the mate, and Karjakin win this game. He's very close now, as I say, to win this match, because he's 1 full point ahead. 4 more rounds, 4 more games are to go, and now I'm pretty sure that we'll see a more aggressive chess and more creative chess in these next 4 rounds.